Hi there, Natalie with you today with a new process video for Pinkfresh Studio. And this time we're going to use some of the newest release from Pinkfresh Studio to create a layout. So I already pulled out 2 of the new washi tapes, some of the new foil plates, and I love the stitch rectangle die. That's going to be the base for my layout. So I'm going to start by preparing everything. To start with, I'm going to cut quite a few of the stitched scallop rectangles. I am using 140-pound white heavy cardstock. I'm going to cut 12 of them. And then I'm gonna actually use them to stack them. So simple as that. I'm just gonna use the smaller rectangle. I just want to use the frames, but I don't want the entire frame. I just want to use the outer frame. The stitch rectangle die creates 2 frames that are attached in the center, and you can go ahead and use them, but I want to use that straight line. So all I'm gonna do is, using my X-Acto knife, just kind of follow the line that the die creates, just to separate the inner and outer frame. And like I said, I'm gonna use the outer frame. I want a straight line that creates the frame in the center. So like I said before, I cut 12 of them. I'm actually gonna stack them. I want to give them a little bit of dimension, and I make them sturdier. So I'm gonna glue, like I said, I'm gonna glue one on top of each other. That's just gonna give me a little bit of dimension. That's gonna make it sturdier, and it's gonna create the soft shadow and different levels on my layout. So now that I have my frames ready, I'm gonna start working on the washi tapes. And these are 2 of the new washi tapes. I am using, this one is the Blossom and Berries, and it's beautiful. It has these roses and little blackberries, little strawberries, and they're gold foil. So all I did is cut 2 panels. These are 4 1/4 by 9 inches, which is right away the size of the washi tape. And I use the little white thing that I have is like a squeegee. It's for when you apply decals onto your wall. You can use a credit card, you can use a palette knife, anything that's just gonna help you take away any bubbles that you create when you're attaching the washi tape to the cardstock. And this one, the second one that I'm using, is the Hydrangea and Rose washi tape. And once I have it attached to my white cardstock, this is just 65-pound white cardstock, I'm going to use the matching die to go ahead and cut it on my die cutting machine. Simple as that. And then you're going to see that I cut quite a few. I wasn't too sure how many I'm gonna need, but regardless, all I do is just keep them in a little envelope next to my stamp set, so that I know that I have them ready. So you're gonna see, I think I cut like 6 sets at once, but again, I'm gonna use them, so I just have them, like I said, ready, so I can easily pull them in and out for my projects. So another thing that I did outside of the camera is actually use my foiling machine, and I foiled the sweet foil plate. I used gold and pink foil for it, and I also foiled the butterflies, the large butterflies, with gold foil on vellum. If you go back into the channel, you will find a tutorial by Carissa, and she explained you how to use the foiling machine. The machine is awesome. If you can afford it, go ahead, because it's great to work any project. Gives you that super nice detail. And I also use the dies to cut them. So I have everything ready right now. I have my washi tapes, I have my frames, I have my foil plated elements, so I'm ready to set up. I am using a super light pink smooth cardstock for my background. I don't know where it's from. I had it in my stash, and I knew that was going to be perfect for what I have in mind. I have 2 pictures of my daughter a couple years ago. The first time she actually had her hair ironed out. We were going, I think we're going one of our trips to Ecuador, and she wanted to get a haircut, so I went ahead and gave her a haircut, and she actually had it ironed out, and she loved it. So pretty much I'm cementing the idea that I have in mind. I have all these frames that I created. I want to think of a grid behind it, and I want to use it just for my background. So pretty much this is what I have in mind. I want to have a row of frames, and the idea actually came, if you look at the paper in the Happy Blooms collection, there's a paper that's filled with little post-it stamps, and I saw it and I thought it was a great idea for a background. So I'm pretty much bringing some of that as inspiration. Now I I'm gonna add a little bit of color to the area where the photos are gonna sit on. And I don't want anything that is gonna be extreme. I just want something that is gonna give a little hint of a shadow. It's just gonna make the space a little bit different, so that anything that I put on top of it is gonna pop. For this, I'm actually gonna use Mint premium ink from Pinkfresh Studio, and this is from the Garden Stroll set. So you're gonna see that I'm using my ink blending brush, and I'm just gonna apply it right on the area where the photos are gonna sit. I'm gonna elongate it a little bit towards the top and the bottom. A lot of it is gonna be covered by the photos, but some of it is gonna peek, and it's just gonna create a little shadow, that little difference between the background and where everything, all the embellishments are gonna sit. So it's gonna make them kind of kind of sort of pop from the page a little bit more. So once I add my color, I'm actually gonna use Meadow, which is the second color in this color family, and I'm just gonna stamp it on a piece of acetate, add some water to dilute it, and then I'm just gonna use a brush just to sprinkle some of the droplets on my page, kind of following where I added the mixed media. Simple as that. I can continue working right away. So my next step is actually to cement, or actually to glue my frames onto the page. And for this, I'm just using I'm actually using Barely Glue, and I'm actually loving it. I just got it and I think it's awesome. But because, remember, I already have glued 2 of the frames together, I'm just gonna use my ruler to center my frames. And even I use a ruler that's a little bit that way and came out crooked. You're gonna see it in the pictures. And just to make sure that the frame gets stuck onto the page, I'm actually gonna use a piece of paper and add some weight on it, so that the weight is just gonna flatten the page and make sure that my frame sticks to my cardstock, especially where I have added the ink. It kind of makes it a little bit slippery, so you gotta make sure that you add strong glue and you add something that is gonna give it some weight so it creates that flat surface. So I'm gonna continue working. You're gonna see that I actually thought about creating something that it was offsetting, so it's not gonna follow like I said, a complete grid, but it has the idea of a grid. And if you look at the paper, I can't remember what the name is, but it's the one that has all the postage stamps from the Happy Blooms collection. That was the inspiration for this background. So now what I'm gonna do is the leftover pieces from the die cuts, you know, they have those white pieces in the center of the little stitch rectangles. I'm actually gonna use a few of those just to put them behind my photo. That's gonna add a little bit of dimension, but it's also gonna give me a surface that I can glue onto my background. And I want to make sure that when I put my pictures on the grid, I put them a little bit on an offset, so a little bit of an angle. I don't want them to be straight. I already have the straightness in the background. So once I put them in place, I'm actually gonna add a little bit of foam adhesive to the corners of the photos, just to make sure that it stays in place and that I have that height that makes them pop from the page. Once I have that ready, it is all gonna be about adding florals. And this took me a while, and just because I wanted to combine the 2 washi tapes, the Blossom and Berries washi tape and also the Hydrangea and Rose washi tape. And the way I want to create it is I just wanted to have little florals coming from behind the photos. That's pretty much the idea. Think of a little S or a little zigzag behind the photos of florals. That's what I want to do. And I want to make sure that there's some pieces hanging out. I want some of those little berries hanging out, because I'm using the word sweet from the hot foil plate to create my title. So like I said, I'm gonna make sure that I create clusters on the bottom right side of the bottom picture, also on the left hand side, and in between the 2 pictures, and then on the top of the photo. So you're gonna see that I'm slowly gonna create kind of an S shape, or think of a zigzag. Think of it as I'm having the florals kind of tucked behind the photo, so that it just gives me that movement on the page. And I want to make sure that my florals are concentrated on the right hand side of the layout around the pictures. I want the majority of my embellishments to be sitting there. It is gonna make it heavier, but because I have that large butterfly that I foiled, that's gonna go on the left hand side, and that's just gonna balance my layout. So all I'm gonna do right now is just play with some of the washi tape. I want to have some of the roses, a little bit more on the red tone, which is the color my daughter is wearing, and I'm using those little, looks like black, they're not blackberries, they look like little what's the name of those little berries? I call them cassis berries. Oh my god, I can't remember the name, but they're the little blackberries, and not a blackberry, but they're little, what do you call them? You make cassis out of it. So just because the color of the shirt my daughter's wearing is actually black, so it matches that, and I want to have those berries. And if you look at the hydrangea and rose washi tape, it actually has these tiny little buds, like rose buds. So I'm gonna use those just to help me with the movement of the clusters, and just to have those little embellishments peeking out of the clusters. And you're gonna see, once I'm done with that, I'm actually gonna bring that large butterfly, and that's gonna balance all the embellishment that I have on the right hand side of the page. Is gonna balance it on the left hand side. Now, because I have all that empty space and I need to add some sentiments onto this page, I'm actually gonna use one of the little florals from the hydrangea and rose washi tape, and I'm gonna put it on the bottom left corner of the first frame. I'm just gonna cut it so that it looks that it's kind of tucked underneath the frame, and then I'm gonna use the one half right at the bottom of the bottom corner, and then the other one right on top of it, so it kind of creates just a little bit of embellishment on the left hand side of my frame. And then you're gonna see that I went into the Happy Blooms cardstock stickers, and I pulled that little flat that little banner that says noteworthy. And then I'm gonna glue my my foil butterfly, and I just use some glue tape, some glue dots behind it. You're gonna see that I rolled it a little bit. That's just so it gives me some dimension. After that, I'm gonna add a piece of ephemera right on the bottom left corner of the bottom picture, and then I add another cardstock sticker to the top right corner of the right picture. I know it sounds redundant, but that's the way, I just want to create a little triangle of phrases on my page. And then it's gonna be all about creating my title, and for that I'm using the two sweet die cuts that I created with the hot foil sweet plate. Remember, I did one in pink foil and one in gold foil, and I'm just gonna stack them at the bottom part of my cluster of florals. And then I'm gonna use the mini alpha from the Happy Blooms collection to spell the word girl. So it's gonna be sweet girl. That's gonna be the title of my layout. And I really went for something really pink. I don't want it to be sticking out. I want the foil to be the one that is actually shine here. Now I needed to add more sentiment right in that area in between the two photos, so I went into the 6x6 paper, and I'm actually gonna cut two of the little strip. There's a paper that's full of word strips. I'm gonna cut two of them and just glue them right there. And then what I'm gonna bring right now is some of the newest product, and this is the gold metallic pearls, and I actually ordered two because I love them. And I'm actually gonna use them as enamel dots because I have all that gold foil in the title, in the butterfly, and also in the washi tape. That's just gonna accent that tone and that metallic sheen, and it's always nice to finish a project with a little bit of sparkle. So I'm just gonna play with the I'm gonna call them enamel dots, but they're not. They're actually metallic pearls. I want to make sure that I have different sizes in each one of the clusters, and they're really tiny, so it makes them perfect to just create that pop of shine. And all it's gonna take is a little drop of glue, and you're gonna see that I'm using my sticky piercing tool, whatever you want to call it, just to help me with the pearls. So I add my drop of glue, I hold the little stick, the little sticky piece is gonna keep the pearl in place until I put it on top of the glue, and then just push it with my finger down. And like I said, I make sure that I use different sizes of the pearls in each one of the clusters. That's just gonna bring that shine, accent that gold foil that I have on the page, just give you the final touch of shine on the page. After that, you're gonna see that I'm actually gonna add my lines to journal right at the bottom of the frames, next to the title. I just think that's the perfect spot. I have quite a bit of negative space, and I'm okay with that. I actually want the emphasis of this layout to be in the photos, and I'm creating that nice flow with the butterfly. So once I am ready to add my lines to journal, you're gonna see that with a pencil I'm just gonna draw the lines. Like I said, right at the bottom of the frames next to the title. That's where my lines of journal are gonna go. But before I finish it, I just need something that is gonna tie. I need to create another triangle here. So for that, I'm gonna use the butterfly stamp set, and that's the butterfly that matches the foil one, and there's sentiments about encouragement. So I'm gonna go ahead and stamp there's 4 sentiments. I'm going to stamp 3 of them, one right underneath the title, another one right at the top of the cluster of flowers, and the other one is going to be underneath the noteworthy flag, which is next to the butterfly. So that just creates another triangle, visual triangle on my page. And then I'm just going to write my lines of journal, let it dry a little bit, the ink, and then I'm just going to erase the pencil lines, and that's about it. I love how this turned out. Simple, and pretty much I've used a lot of the newest release from Pinkfresh Studio on my page. I love it. Make sure you check it out. I know that there's some things that are sold out, but are being restocked, so make sure you check it out. As always, you can find a list of all the products in the description of this video. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. I would love to help you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There's always tons of cool content being added. And thank you so much for joining me. Take care, guys.